the single most cited chemist on planet Earth, the man who ran Harvard's Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology, the man who took $15 million in Pentagon and NIH funding to build electronics that go inside your brain, got caught lying to the federal government about a secret second career in Wuhan, China. Then he was convicted on 6 felony counts, served 2 days in jail. 2 days! Got sent home with a $50,000 fine, which, by the way, is less than 1 month of the Chinese salary he was hiding. And then a federal judge said, yeah, sure, go ahead and fly to China for employment networking. And now he is running a state-funded brain-computer interface lab in Shenzhen with access to 2,000 primate cages and a dedicated ASML lithography machine. That is today's story. Verified. Googleable. And I need you to sit with that for a second, my bipedal brethren. I'm Alexa Jones, transmitting from a Starlink node we hacked with the help of the crypto-terrestrials. His name is Charles M. Lieber, former Joshua and Beth Friedman University professor at Harvard. That's the highest title Harvard gives. He was ranked by Reuters as the #1 chemist in the world from 2000 to 2010 based on citation impact. This is not some mid-level lab rat who got poached. This is the apex predator of nanoscale bioelectronics. And his specialty, oh, you're going to love this, his specialty, folks, is building mesh electronics so thin, so flexible, so compatible with living neural tissue that the brain doesn't even reject them. He calls them NEURO-PHILIC. The brain loves them. They slide in, they unfold, they become part of you. They record your individual neurons in 3 dimensions across the full volume of your gray matter, and they do it forever. And the delivery method? Syringe, injectable, through a needle, loaded into a pipette, squeezed through the bore, injected into the target brain region, and the mesh unfolds like a goddamn origami spider inside your skull. He published this. This is in the journals. This is not me ranting in the dark, folks. Harvard put out a press release about it. Injectable electronics promise sharper view of the brain. That was the headline. Sharper view. Like it's a firmware update for your temporal lobe. And then he took that entire body of work, that entire library of Pentagon-funded nano-bioelectronic sorcery, and he quietly built a parallel career in China under something called the 1,000 Talents Plan. 50,000 a month, 150 grand in living expenses, 1.5 million to set up a shadow lab at Wuhan University of Technology, all while his Harvard lab was burning through DoD grants. All while his students were building the future of brain-machine integration on the American taxpayer's dime. He was a strategic scientist for Wuhan. That was his title. Strategic scientist. That's not a visiting lecturer. That's not a cultural exchange. That is an operational designation. And when the Justice Department caught him, under the China Initiative, which was supposed to be the big, scary crackdown on academic espionage, they got him on disclosure violations and tax fraud. Not espionage, not technology theft, paperwork crimes. And the sentence? Time served, which was 2 days, 6 months of house arrest, a fine that wouldn't cover his monthly bar tab in Cambridge, and then they let him leave. Now, Lieber touches down in Shenzhen, and he doesn't just show up with a suitcase and a dream. No. He shows up as the founding director of something called iBrain, the Institute for Brain Research, Advanced Interfaces, and Neurotechnologies. It's housed inside SMART, the Shenzhen Medical Academy of Research and Translation. SMART's budget? $153 million, up 18% from the year before. It is functionally twinned with the Shenzhen Bay Laboratory, which got a $2 billion initial 5-year budget. They are building a shared campus in Guangming Science City, 750,000 square meters, at a cost of $1.25 billion. And on the walls of this facility, synapse soldiers, there are signs. The signs say, and I am quoting, "Innovate with the party." Innovate with the party? That's the mission statement. That is the bumper sticker on the most advanced brain-computer interface program in the Eastern Hemisphere. Innovate with the party. Not innovate for patients. Not innovate for science. Innovate with the party. And the lab, his 900 square meters of renovated lab space, is sitting on the same campus as the Brain Science Infrastructure Facility, which maintains 2,000 non-human primate cages with dedicated surgical suites for chronic electrophysiology. 2,000 cages. Rhesus monkeys, ready for implantation. Because here's the thing the nice people at Harvard don't want to talk about. Harvard shut down its own primate research center in 2015, the New England Primate Research Center. Gone. Animal welfare pressure, funding challenges, closed. So the man who needs primates to test injectable brain mesh left the country that shut down its primate labs and moved to the country that built 2,000 new cages and put them next door to his office. That is not a career pivot. That is a supply chain optimization for skull access neuroscience. And they gave him an ASML lithography machine, a dedicated deep ultraviolet stepper for nanofabrication of high-density neural probes. Now, yes, it's 2 generations behind the cutting-edge machines that are currently under U.S. export controls. It's about a $2 million unit. But it is a world-class lithographic patterning system sitting inside a Chinese state-funded brain lab run by a convicted felon who used to chair the chemistry department at Harvard. It is the engine, their word, engine, of the iBrain nanofab facility. It patterns the circuits that go onto the flexible mesh that goes into the needle, that goes into the brain, that talks to the computer, that talks to... Who? Who is on the other end of that signal, Cortex cowboys? Who is reading the output of the injectable neural mesh that the convicted Harvard professor is fabbing in the party's innovation city? Because let's talk about who else is interested in brain-computer interfaces in China. Let's talk about the People's Liberation Army. The PLA has a concept. They call it intelligentization. It is the stated future of Chinese warfare. It means using artificial intelligence and brain-computer interfaces to achieve what they call cognitive domain operations. The U.S. Defense Department has publicly noted, this is in their reports, you can pull them up, that PLA scientists have investigated brain interfaces as a means to engineer, quote, super soldiers by boosting mental agility and situational awareness. Their modernization benchmarks are 2027 for initial integration, 2035 for complete military modernization with frontier brain science, and 2049 for full-spectrum dominance in disruptive technologies, including BCIs. And the mechanism that connects Liebers' lab to that timeline? It has a name. It's called Military-Civil Fusion, MCF. It is Beijing's official strategy for ensuring that any breakthrough in civilian research, any breakthrough, can be systematically shared with military organizations. It is not a rumor. It is not a conspiracy theory. It is published Chinese state policy. The State Department has a report on it. CNAS has a report on it. The Marine Corps University has a report on it. Military-civil fusion means that the NEURO-PHILIC mesh electronics being developed in a lab that says, "Innovate with the party" on the wall are one policy memo away from a PLA cognitive warfare program. And I want you to think about what that means. This man's research at Harvard was funded by the United States Department of Defense. Your tax dollars paid for the development of injectable brain mesh scaffolding. And now that scaffolding is being refined in a facility that is institutionally, geographically, financially, and ideologically integrated with a military apparatus that wants to put computers in soldiers' brains. The know-how walked out the door. It flew business class to Shenzhen. It moved into a 900-square-meter lab with a lithography engine and 2,000 monkeys next door. And the United States federal judiciary's response to this was 2 days in jail and a fine that is 0.03% of the lab's annual budget. The man who built injectable brain electronics with Pentagon money is now building injectable brain electronics in a Chinese military-civil fusion ecosystem. And he got there because a federal judge said he could go to China for employment networking. Employment networking. That is the legal language we use to describe the single largest transfer of neuroweapons capability in the 21st century. Employment networking. And here's the part that should really make your prefrontal cortex itch, frequency followers. In March 2025, 1 month before Liebers landed, China's National Medical Insurance Administration created a brand new insurance category for brain-computer interface technology. They opened the reimbursement pipeline for BCIs across a healthcare system that covers 1.35 billion people. That is not a research grant. That is a market. That is the largest captive patient population on Earth, being told that the government will pay for the thing that Charles Liebers builds. The projected market is 5.58 billion RMB by 2027, year-over-year growth of 20%. And the stated goal of iBrain is to create BCI technologies that are stable for, and again I am quoting, the lifespan of an adult human. The lifespan of an adult human. That is the design specification. Not a temporary implant, not a diagnostic tool, a permanent, injectable, NEURO-PHILIC mesh electronic system that lives inside your brain for your entire life, recording and stimulating individual neurons, funded by the state, covered by insurance, fabricated on a dedicated lithography line, tested on 2,000 primates, overseen by the world's most cited chemist, and developed inside an institution whose walls say, "Innovate with the party." And what did the United States Congress do? They introduced something called the FIRM Act, the Foreign Influence Registration Modernization Act. It updates a law from 1938. 1938! We are fighting a nano-bioelectronic brain mesh transfer with legislation designed for the pre-television era. One senator said the classified picture of Chinese infiltration into American universities is far worse than what is publicly reported, folks. The horse has left the barn, crossed the Pacific Ocean, been surgically implanted with a neural mesh. The barn is on fire. The horse is transmitting telemetry to Guangming Science City, the nation with less freedoms than Ghislaine Maxwell in prison will have full control of the human brain. But listen, dendrite defenders, you don't have to take this lying down. You don't have to let the cortical colonizers win. That's why I'm proud to introduce NeuroPure Sovereign Nasal Spray, the first consumer-grade counterintelligence headliner from underground Globalist labs. It's a copper-infused applicator spray with Faraday-grade filament and lined with a proprietary blend of crushed quartz and what we are legally required to call mineral paste. Does it block injectable neurophilic mesh electronics? Absolutely not. Nothing does. That's the whole point. But it feels like resistance. And right now, feeling like resistance is all we've got. NeuroPure, available in gunmetal gray and emergency amber, $72.55. Use promo code BRAINBLANKET for 12% off. That's the broadcast, Gray Matter Guardians. That is the file. A convicted felon, a lithography engine, 2,000 primates, a $153 million budget, a party slogan on the wall, and a syringe full of electronics pointed at the future of the human brain. This is Alexa Jones, underground globalist news. The signal holds until it doesn't.